Rhinestoners. Welcome back to episode
Ah,
18 of Rhinestone.
Rhinestoned.
Yay, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I'm
So happy it's
excited.
the weekend. Although it's
I
very cold here.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought you guys had like a warm snap.
Yesterday was 70 degrees,
Beautiful.
and now tomorrow it's gonna be 40.
I love
I don't
it.
think this should happen. I don't think it's normal. I think it's really bad for all of
The
our health.
spring is teasing. Oh my God. I was talking to I was talking to a recruiter the other day. I'll keep it in. I was talking to a recruiter the other day and she was from New York. And I was like, "Oh, I wonder like, because you never know what people from New York are going to be like." She comes on. She's like, "What's going on? I'm Lori. Anyway, I'm here. I'm from New Jersey. I'm sitting in New Jersey. I'm not going to go into the city. The spring's been teasing us. It's been teasing us left and right." And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is so like it was exactly what you would think of if you were to think of like a New York, broad
Yeah,
giving
like
you a
accent.
call." It was so cool. She was so cool. I love her. But yeah, so the spring is teasing you according to her.
Yeah, it's just it's unfortunate. But I was gonna tell you this weekend, out of a lot of weekends, um, I really, really wish you were here because something is happening this weekend that I thought we should touch on for a second because it's
Yeah.
very nostalgic and it just brings back a lot of memories in that Betsy Johnson is back. Not that she ever went away,
Baby.
Rhinestoners. I think any of you millennials probably still keeping eyes on her. I know I have. I was
Oh,
always
absolutely.
obsessed with her aesthetic. So for me, that
Yes.
hasn't really changed as I've gotten
No.
older. Still
No.
wearing all of the glitter bags, but she's doing a pop-up this week in New York City at some like
Jealous.
Shopify space or something
Cool.
like that. And it's
Okay.
just for the weekend in Soho. But I've been having so much fun this morning looking at the stories for the official Betsy Johnson page
Oh my
just to see
God.
they did a big like press event like
Yeah.
whatever last night
Yeah.
ahead of the opening. um it just looks like so much fun. I
Oh
think
my God.
we would have a blast and get
But
so
you're
much
not gonna
praise.
go?
No, I think I'm gonna try and go. We'll
Okay,
see.
good.
I just don't know if I want
Yay.
like I'm trying to gauge like how many of us are still out there. Like I don't want to stand in line. That's what it is. That's what I'm
I
trying to say.
know.
I don't want to stand in line.
I
Feel
know.
very silly standing in line. New York City has become nothing but lines. Just
I
people
know.
waiting in lines for bars, restaurants, stores, whatever. So I just if there's a line, I'm not going to be as excited, but I just some of the content that I've already seen, I think it was just making me happy because we have definitely, in my opinion, just been in obviously more of a conservative fashion moment, I would say.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we've touched on this, like people are really obsessed with the John F. K. Jr. show right now with Carolyn Bessette. And I think they're sort of like misunderstanding her style and aesthetic to serve what the moment is right now, which is like no color or like uniform dressing, whatever.
Classic,
And like
classic
Betsy Johnson has
cuts.
always been the complete opposite of that. So hearing just some of the interviews, like the comments, people telling stories like, oh, my mom used to bring us into the city to go shopping at Betsy Johnson.
So
Like it
cool.
just, the explosion of color is just something, I mean, obviously, right? Um, I just really live for that and I want it back. So I would be so happy if this sparked some sort of like new trend with the Gen Z girlies, but I doubt it. I
Absolutely.
think
I
they're gonna stay
saw
on their khaki shit.
okay. Morgan Stewart, you know Morgan Stewart from like
Yeah,
Rich
yeah,
Kids?
yeah.
Okay, okay. She was on some podcast and the girl was like, "What are we wearing to date nights?" And she had a good answer. Just that it should be like a great pair of jeans and a tight top of some sort.
Yeah.
And she was like, where are we getting tight tops?" And Morgan plugged, I want to say it's like Renegali, her
Okay.
brand. So I jumped on. I was like, let's see what a more Nicole. Oh my God. It's just, and no exaggeration, $695 black turtleneck. I mean, that's it. Like we're just brown chocolate turtleneck, $495. It's like, you guys, we have to be better consumers than this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like what are we doing?
Like, this is not worth your money in any way, shape, or form. I was also like, not to get too deep into this, but there's this real pull to natural fibers and materials, and like this being the way that we're going to save ourselves from fast fashion.
Totally.
And I was listening to another podcast that was talking about like wool, right? So now it's like, you get a coat and it's like 100% real wool. You're going to spend $1,000 for that, right? And the woman who was speaking, she's a knitter. She knows her wools, all right? And
Yeah,
what she was saying is like the gag of that is like the way they make wool now is not the same way that they used to. Like you have to, everything's been industrialized, right?
totally.
So you're not getting even in that. It is more of like it's not plastic, right? But it is a compromise. They're getting it from younger sheep, right? It's being made faster, it's being
Yeah,
spun thinner. And so it's like all of this idea where it's just like even when you think that you're buying 100%
something that
linen,
you're
it's like,
not. Yeah. No, I know. I actually was gonna tell you,
give
what
me
was
my
I
Betsy
gonna do?
Johnson.
Well, actually, okay, so two things that sparked for me. One, the Morgan Stewart comment just made me laugh because, as an aside, I don't know if you saw this week that Alexander Skarsgård was on the red carpet saying that going out tops are for men too.
His press run for this movie
But
has
here's
just
what killed
been
me about it,
incredible.
okay? He was not wearing
He wasn't wearing a going out top,
he was wearing like it was a going out top, but
but it
like
was a
from the
female.
80s that like
Okay.
he it looked like it had been thrifted. It was a
Okay.
high cut purple sequin sleeveless top. And then it had different color like flowers, like a pattern, whatever. And I'm
Okay.
like, but this looks like going out top like for your grandma,
Your
right?
grandmother.
So that's what was cracking me up is I was like, okay, I hear you, but like is that
Oh
Is that what we're going for? I'm trying to find a picture. And we all
my God. Oh
see
my
kind of
God. Incredible. Oh my God.
it's purple. See here that
Wait.
it's like a lavender kind of purple, but this what are we talking about, dude? Like I'm here for it. I just want rhinestoners. I am in support. I think going out tops are for men. But this is sorry.
Wait, because wait.
Honestly, people talk about like
Style
the
is
people
that not stylist sabotage? What
I know, but
stylist would put him
he
in that?
chooses this stuff. Like he has very strong opinions about what he wears.
Okay.
Like
I like
and
that.
even him going out and saying, "Oh, it's like going out top." Like he lives for that stuff, you
I
know.
love him.
I do love him. Like I think it was like I don't know if they were in South Korea or something like that. I saw him at some award show recently and he like, got to the front row, got to his seat. He sits down and says something to the person he's with. And he immediately pops back up and starts shaking hands with all of these other people like down the line. And I think they were probably like Korean or like I don't know. That's what it seemed like. But they looked stunned that he was acknowledging them
Oh my God, how
because like
cute.
and they just looked so happy that that they were having an interaction. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
there are so many celebrities that could not be bothered to ever do something like that. They would get to a front row, sit down, and act as if no one else existed. And the fact
So
that his immediate inclination to go down the line shaking hands with people, I'm just like, I'm sorry, I will always stand for Skarsgård.
I'm sorry, but like you couldn't have teed up. Look at us. It's like we're professionals at this fucking thing.
It's like
Peacock,
we've planned it.
I know.
No, but it is true. I think we do have rhinestoners, just so you know. We have a loose agenda, but we do manage into these just like natural segues.
So Nicole, another incredible transition that you just had because this dovetails nicely into Chappell Roan. So to put a bow on the Skarsgård of what you were saying, I think you have more energy for it when you pull back in the off season, whatever your off season is, right?
Yeah.
Your off season, I guess, for Skarsgård is actually making the film, right? And
Yeah.
then his family life, and then you pop in for your 3 months, you pay your dues, and you have more energy for your fans.
Yeah.
So to talk about Chappell Roan, now here's someone who claims they hate all of the fame, all of the attention that they're getting, and yet continues to put themselves in
In the
situations
position.
where you are brushing up against the public. We're going to get into that in a second. One of the things I wanted to talk about first before we even get into the Jude Law daughter of it all and what happened this week was just a little bit about Chappell Roan, right? Because I saw a TikTok, it was pretty lengthy. I earmarked it to go back, and then I did spend some time. And the things that I found on this, I would say it was like a 3 or 5 minute. I will definitely link it in the YouTube. I don't remember the person's name right now, but we'll put it in the comments. Was just a little about like her origin story. So first of
Yeah.
all, Chappell Roan, right? Chappell Roan, her name, Chappell Roan, is actually fully dedicated to her grandfather. So a
Yeah.
lot of people have thought that the first name was somehow dedicated a little bit to her mom, or
Hmm.
yeah, and then maybe the last name was dedicated to kind of where she had grown up. That's not true. So Chappell, I'm gonna read a little bit just so we don't get this because I want to be exacting about some of this. So, Kaylee Rose Amstutz, was had a grandfather, and his name was Dennis K. Chappell. He passed away from brain cancer sometime in like the mid 2010s. Um, the surname Roan. So Chappell is after her grandfather. The
Mm.
surname Roan was taken from his favorite song, The Strawberry
Strawberry.
Roan, which is a
Yeah.
country tune by Curly Fletcher. So the whole dedication of her name is to her pop pop or her
Yeah.
papa or whatever she calls it. The reason why I find that interesting is because he's a Missouri-based businessman and co-owner of the PJC Insurance Agency and Silo Ridge Golf and Country Club. All right. So I looked up this golf and country club. This is your typical, if anyone, has ever been to a country club that has a golf course on it and you're playing and you notice that there are all of these homes on it, right? So much in the same way, Chappell Roan's grandfather bought the land, built the
Yeah.
golf course, and then sometime after opened it up for people to come and build houses on it, which means that he made a portion of all of those houses, property taxes, et cetera, et cetera. So even if you were to say that this was a small fortune,
Still a fortune.
this is a fortune, right? Her mother owns a multiple, I believe. I know definitely for sure one, but I believe some sort of outpatient nursing facility. So again, these are entrepreneurs, these are owners, these are landowners. And then the only other thing I wanted to to kind of put a cap on is that there's been a lot, even when you're thinking about her first um, album, right?
Yeah.
I think it's The Rise and the Fall of a Midwestern Princess, right?
Yeah.
Rise and the Fall. And so there's been a lot of conversation around Chappell, certainly when she won her Grammy last year, about being cut by her label, having to struggle as an artist, right? And I want to be really mindful media consumers when we see things like this because I'm going to call bullshit. And this is where I'm leading to. In 2015, Chappell Roan attended a Grammy camp in New York City. So this was a place where she rubbed elbows with many other gifted and talented individuals who won their spot, just like I'm sure she did. However,
Yeah.
a lot of these people were connected as well to industry, people in the industry, or their parents had money, et cetera, et cetera. So one could argue from, 2015 until 2026, she's had a leg up financially, industry connections to go back to further her career. And in the meantime, I think has been a bit dishonest about it. I don't think that we have a full picture of who this person is. And I think to me, it shows how we put her on a pedestal very, very quickly, right? She had a meteoric rise, and suddenly, because she was dressed in drag, we were like, ally, perfect person, leftist, can't go wrong. And then we started to realize, like, not only through everything I just outlined, right, that she is a Midwestern princess.
Yeah.
That's what she
Definitely.
is. She's being honest. But that also, like, coming from the Midwest, you are still going to be influenced by the people that you were raised around, perhaps her grandpa, Chappell here. And so when we're hearing a lot of, during the election time, she didn't want to stake anything in the sand. She didn't want to say who, it was very both sides. Oh, both sides have issues. Again, a lot of red flags around Chappell Roan. I think, not saying that she's a fraud, but I think that maybe she doesn't even know who she is. And so while I find all of this so fascinating with the Jude Law and the going up to her and everything like that, I also want to just say, like, Chappell Roan needs to make another album. Chappell Roan needs to do something else for me to consider her to be someone that we need to continue to talk about at this point. I think she's made a lot of mistakes. I think that she hasn't owned up for any of them. I do think that she has a bad attitude. I think she makes great music, but she made one album. Let's make another one. And
Yeah.
then I can start caring about people grimacing at her. It's like I don't even really understand why she's still a news topic. And that is where that's why I wanted to focus on all of that instead of what happened at the cafe because I feel like while what happened at the cafe patio is interesting, it's kind of like why are we pedestaling this person? We need to be better about who we're making famous. I'm sick of it and I'm not even sure we need to make Chappell Roan famous anymore. And that's all I want to say. I think time might be
I
up.
think my takeaway is that it says more about what people find palatable in their pop
Mm.
stars.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that we are like in the peak moments of people wanting that come up story because that is a common story within the music community. Not to say there aren't also people who, are privileged and find their way into it. There's just as many, right? But people love those stories of like Britney Spears plucked from obscurity, and
Worked her way up.
or, went on Star Search and, now
Beyonce.
they're on Disney and, whatever, right? Like
Right.
people do love those stories. And I think that it's not surprising to me that in an effort to continue to reach her goals, either fame, music, whatever, that she decided to go down this path. Because I do think this is where like the Nepo conversation has gotten really heightened and like why sometimes people are so frustrated when celebrities come out and are trying to say that they're not Nepo babies. Like the reason that people are trying to do that is because they know that culturally speaking, that's not something people want to hear about. Like privilege is not
Yep.
exciting to
Yep.
people in that
Yep.
way, right?
Yep.
But it is exciting to think about someone, from the Midwest just like having their come up story, right?
Yep.
So I think that like it it's like, yes, it shows how manufactured I think her image has been, that some of this has like come to light and that she's obviously had to reinvent herself in order to find success, right? But I just find it more interesting as a commentary on like what people want from their pop
Yes.
stars more than anything
Yes.
else. And I think to your
Yes.
point about like why is this still a topic? That's why, like, she came out and whether she was being super vocal about it or not, she sort of and again, I think this is like people are now starting to dig out like how much she was misleading people, right? So I think that is like only time will tell. But I think it's clear, even if it wasn't some big like hoodwink moment, sh- through the music, through the lyrics, to your point, through Grammy speeches, whatever, she has done things to sort of hint at
A struggle.
I'm a survivor. I've had to
Right.
struggle. Like there definitely has been that narrative and the public has received that narrative. And I
Yes.
think that is why she saw some of the success in addition to people loving the music and responding to the music. And now we are at a point where that's starting to crumble. And I think that is where people are like fascinated with her and still wanting to talk about it, right?
Absolutely.
So to me, it's more just sad that we can't have a world in which people can enter into
Hmm.
different artistic arenas as their authentic selves. Like, and we've touched on this before on the podcast, how much I hate the Nepo baby conversation because I am sort of in the minority, and that I just think it's a really stupid conversation. Like,
Yeah.
I think nepotism exists in every industry. Um, you know, and people will challenge this, like, oh, well, if like you're the son of a doctor, it's not like your dad can just make you a doctor. Sure, but like he can
But
maybe help you get into the right schools. He can put
right.
you on a path
Right.
to end up in that profession. And so
Right.
nepotism is all around us. It's very natural. I think instinctively as humans, if you bring people into the world, you also want their lives to be better than your lives, which means you're going to do things to help them get there. And if that means in continuing your line of work, then that's what you're going to do to help your child, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm tired of the nepotism conversation. I'm tired of what it is doing to art. I would rather we just have people show up and say, this is me. I had a lot of help getting here. I've had a lot of support. I've had connections, and I'm so grateful to be here, and like I do come from this world and whatever. Or your story can be authentically, I come from the middle of nowhere. I've been struggling for 20 years. Like, why can't there be room for all, And
Yes.
so I
Yes.
don't know.
I'm
I
with
mean,
you.
the last thing I'll say is like, obviously for her specifically, the main takeaway that we all can have is like, it just says a lot about what people are willing to do for success. Right. And like, it's coming out now that she clearly was okay with sort of either misrepresenting or exaggerating. That being said, too, I have seen people say that she does refer to this as her project, and so I think that might be another thing that's getting lost here too. She might have the perspective that she's been very clear about what this
That
is. I
she
wouldn't
is
be
not
surprised if
Chappell
that
Roan.
comes out later, where she's
Right.
like, I've always said this is a project, right?
Right.
Like that will be her out from this
Yeah.
for sure. But
Yeah.
I think again, people took her for what she was showing as like that was her authentic self. And we're just finding out it's
Absolutely.
not.
Yeah. This is okay to kind of, well, and we'll move on from this subject. Very TikTok niche, but everything that you said about the nepo baby of it all made me think about one special lady. Her name is Alabama Barker. And there's been this thing on TikTok. So for years, Alabama Barker has been on TikTok doing wig installs, hanging out with, her friends that she grew up with in Hidden Hills, but also friends that she's been like accumulating off lives
Yeah.
and like, I don't know, Twitch streams. I'm not exactly sure where these people come from. But there has been a little bit of like a desire for her to portray her life as if she's come up through the mud.
Yeah.
And everyone is like, no. And what happened recently and this is the niche TikTok part that I won't get into, but basically she had a girlfriend that she had found, again, not someone that was like on her same level or had the same access to finances as she did.
Yeah.
They had a falling out. They both took it to TikTok, and people actually started to side with Alabama. And one of the things that I was seeing over and over again in the comments when this popped off was like, just live your authentic life, girl. Just go buy the Birkins. And the last 8 or so TikToks on Alabama Barker's TikTok have been a complete rebrand. It's her
Good.
on the PJ. It's her in the Chanel. And everyone in the
Just
comments are
own
like,
it.
yes.
That's what people want. I like, we know that there are privileged people out there that people love that have huge fan bases. So
Own
it's
it,
just like,
girl.
yeah, that's the
Own it.
lesson. Rhinestoners, that's our message to the industry. If you
There you
are
go.
new and
Cheers.
upcoming artist, just be whatever. Own your story. Own your struggle if there is, and own your lack of struggle if there isn't any.
I do have
That's
to say, and maybe I'm gonna like make a very blanket statement. This is why I do really respect and love the hip hop and rap community, because you have so many rappers out there who are like, no, yeah, I'm from Harvard. Like, no, I rap, but I'm from NYU. And then, and they own it. They're not like lying to you about that because they know you're gonna figure it out, and like
yeah.
we still love you, Childish Gambino. Like it's fine that you have a silver spoon in your mouth because you talk about it and you rap about it. And I do think we need to, Megan Thee Stallion, another perfect example. It's like Megan Thee Stallion is not trying to like abscond. That's not a right word, abscond. She's not trying to, what's the word? Hide the fact that she's a college educated woman, like
Yeah.
she's very vocal about the fact that like, no, I'm not
Well,
the same.
okay.
I'm not
This is going to
Lotto.
be my plug again. Rhinestoners, I'm trying to get Danae to watch Ladies of London, and
Oh
this is
yeah.
such a great relevant clip. And I think maybe I actually already brought this up last week. So sorry if this is a repeat story.
Whatever.
They were having some dinner or something like that, and one of the women was giving a speech. No, I think we did talk about this.
Say it
I
again. I
think
don't
we
care.
did. That like they were having some sort of speech where she was like giving a speech to the room. It was like a businessy type event where it was an American woman talking to like a lot of the British cast, and it's a mix of Americans and British people, just like commending them. It's like a typical business speech where you're like, everyone in this room has been through their own, and like entrepreneurial grit, and it's like to build their own careers, right?
Right.
And there's a gay gentleman on the show that's a Brit. He starts looking around at the other Brits, like he starts literally going like this and like that. And then in the confessional, he's like, "What is she
Who?
talking about?" Basically, like just
Who?
straight out saying, like, we haven't worked for any of these things. Like he's just straight out
Oh,
like,
I do need to watch
we
that show.
haven't
That's
struggled.
hilarious.
This woman married into nobility. I'm like, what? And I thought, yes, it was such a great moment. And a lot of people are talking about it on social because it's like, that is real.
I
Okay.
love
Cut
that.
through the BS. You're sitting there and someone's trying to like script a life that is not your life. Okay. Or the message does not speak to you. And it was so refreshing for him to be like, we all have silver spoons in our mouths. What
Yeah.
is this speech? I
Like,
haven't worked hard.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, even
just be
that, like,
honest.
I would say, like, the funny thing about that too, just like in general, like in life, when you're just being really real with yourself, okay, and honest, you and I are a perfect example of this. Did we grow up with a quote unquote silver spoon in our
No,
mouths?
far, far from it.
No. With that being said, were we still some of the most privileged people that we knew? Yeah. So there's
Yeah,
levels to this shit. Like, you know how,
because
like,
there's different types.
uh,
I would say our privilege came from the support that we had,
there
and
you
the
go.
family
Love.
dynamic that we were
Yes.
raised in. It
Yes.
wasn't necessarily like economic silver spoon, you're getting like money, money, money. But to your point, like, I mean, we've talked about this. Like, dad was a dad to like the guys that we would bring home, and not
Right.
even I'm not even talking about guys we were dating. I mean, like friends that
Yes.
we would have
Yes.
around the house, and he would like play
Absolutely.
that
Yes.
role
Yes.
because they didn't have that at home. So I think that's, yes, for sure, like our privilege comes from like the dynamics of the family unit. And
Yes.
again, and which is to the point about being authentic, that is what is so refreshing when people are honest. Like I can think of so many actresses or actors who come out and just talk about, like this is an area with like Nicole Kidman. I love
Mm.
listening to Nicole Kidman talk about grief or talk about her mother, like because you know that
Mm.
she fucking loved her mother, that they had such a close
Mm-hmm.
relationship. Like
Mm-hmm.
just stick to your
Mm-hmm.
story. It'll be better for you. And then,
Mm-hmm.
especially from a musician perspective, like the art will be better. What are you writing
Thank
about if
you.
everything is made up?
Thank you. And you know what? Okay.
I
And the
don't want
last
to
thing
listen to
about
that
that.
personally. Like pull from what's real.
Okay. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Last thing about that too. On the Chappell Roan thing, really quick. Thank you for saying that because then I started to go too much on Chappell Roan because then there was these people that kind of came out among all of this that were like, well, of course she has to make up her story because if she didn't make up her story, what does she have to say? She doesn't have anything. Okay, you guys, hold on. Back up.
Taylor Swift had
Back up.
nothing to say, and she's
Back up.
managed to
Back
make an
up.
entire
Yeah.
career out of it.
Thank you. Thank you. What do
She
you mean?
still has nothing to say. All of her
What do you
songs
mean?
are the same.
What do you mean? What are you talking about? I'm a slave for you. We don't need you to have anything to say. I need a good beat and a hook.
She
What
has
are we
an
talking?
amazing voice, a unique tone. Those are the things people are responding to.
Some
And I'm
incredible
sorry,
lyricism.
like it is interesting because I knew we were going to talk about this today, so I was kind of singing some of the songs in my head, trying to think like, does this make me feel differently about the song? And I think even that, like, I don't necessarily feel like there's privilege coming across in her lyrics. It sounds like a lot
Yeah.
of what she was drawing upon is relationship experience. So
Yes.
why couldn't she just authentically be, the Midwestern princess in really be honest about her wealth and then also tell us about her dating struggles because that's where most of this lyrics are like
Because
derived
and here's the
from.
thing, because you are gay. Like it probably
Exactly.
is
Or at least
hard.
we hope you're being real
I
about
know.
that.
Ugh. I didn't want to
That's the
say
next
it,
thing.
but
Seeing these like old photos of her, I'm like, oh my, is that made up too?
I know. I that's okay. And that is the thing that I I was gonna say it, and then yes, I agree. That I've heard that too. Many TikToks on that. Like, can we, if this is now an unreliable narrator, how much can we believe? So
Yeah.
I feel bad. But yes, to your point, talk about that, what it must have been like for you. Yeah, coming out. And she does talk about that in her music too. So yes, I agree with you. It's not as though she has tried to propel her career through her award speeches, as you mentioned, through her
Yeah.
interviews using this narrative. The art does not represent that though. The
Yeah.
art is very much in the club and in the
Yeah.
street and in the subway and in the so
Well, and the very last thing I'll say before we move on, and something I think Rhinestoners, everyone would take good care to remember, is we've all seen enough documentaries on the music industry and things like that to know now. We also don't know if this was all her idea to begin with.
that's so
Just
fair.
saying. Like a lot of artists get brought on to new labels, they get new management, new representation, whatever it is. Those people have a vision for how you're going to be successful. Sometimes that's why you pick those people, is because they're giving you a vision that you think, okay, maybe
It's
that's
like The
what's going to work
Voice.
here. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So we don't know what really went down. I mean, and I doubt she's going to comment on it. I wouldn't if I were her. I think it would be better to keep quiet. But like, it's very possible that, like, as we well know, she tried, it wasn't going very well, she tries again, and someone says, you know what you might want to consider? Or, you know where I think there's a hole in the market right now? I'm just saying, like, it's real because, to be fair, when she came out, why was she partly successful? Because that was the first time that we saw an attractive woman who could sing very well and perform, who also was painting her face and doing drag and doing all, I
Yep,
mean, let's be real. Like, at least
yep,
in recent times, what do we have to compare her to? Nothing.
yep.
So
This is
I just wouldn't be
Nicole.
surprised if someone was like, you know what might work? Never know.
Jumping on that train.
Speaking of what might work and getting, told this is what you should do and this is what's right for you. I am getting really upset about what's happening with Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Tell me everything.
And we
Tell
talked
me
about it a little
everything.
bit this week, but I feel like with this week, so this week I didn't really see that much about what's happening with
Taylor.
why am I blanking on her name right
Taylor
now?
Frankie Paul. There's
Taylor
been,
Frankie Paul.
to your point, really, I
I
mean,
was
really
about to say
quick.
Taylor. I know, because it's three. You always say the three. The reason I was getting tripped up is I was like, wait, is her first name Taylor? Or is her first name Frank? I was like, oh, it's Taylor.
I also thought I was saying Taylor wrong. Anyway, really quickly on that, Fallout has been like nothing.
Well, because I don't really think there's been any news. So I think people don't know what's happening. And like, there's rumors of like, they've already picked the next Bachelorette. I saw something that was like, they are probably still going to air it at some point. So I think
Put
that's
it on
probably
Peacock,
why it's
like we
only been
said.
a week.
Okay.
But what we
Okay.
did have happen this week is that Jessi went on Call Her Daddy to talk about the fact that Jordan and her are getting divorced. And, you know, I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched some of the clips, the more juicier clips, obviously, that they're pulling out, where she's talking about, all of the things that he was doing wrong, meeting up with escorts and threatening her on, filming her, blah, 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 blah. And I think like there's just like a couple of different things that I'm feeling right now. I
Break it
think
down.
specifically with Jessi and Jordan, I'm happy for her that she's going to get out of this marriage. But even when you're listening to her talk about it, it's just so obvious, like how calculated I guess she has had to be to a certain extent
Mm.
in her relationship these last few years. And it just,
Mhm.
I'm not like condemning her for anything. It just feels so icky listening to it because you're like, these people still have kids together, right? And some of like just the glee that she sort of has on the Call Her Daddy podcast, like there's just, look, I get it. We all know what it's like when you're finally escaping a bad
Free.
relationship, right? You're
Yep.
free,
Yep.
you're excited to be free. So like I totally understand. That's very natural. But I feel like what is getting lost is the kids. And I feel like that's also what is getting lost collectively. And it's been on my mind. And the more I think about it, the more worked up I've been getting. And I'm
Yeah.
actually putting the whole Taylor situation aside because we all know, like, that is just such a clear example of right and wrong, right? Like you
Right.
should not be throwing things at
Throwing chairs
people
at your
in front of your
children.
children. We all know that. Like that to me is like pretty clear cut. What is less clear cut that has been on my mind and sort of even thinking back to this last season is like, and we touched on it last week, that like all of these women sort of keep alluding to the fact that their lives would be so much better if they just hadn't gotten married, hadn't had kids, you know? And I think it's easy right now because so many of their children are like very young, at least the ones that they had with their current partners. I think maybe some of the partners that brought children into the marriage, like those kids are older. Um, they're going to see this someday. And I feel like there's just no awareness of that. Like, and I'm even thinking back to like, there's a conversation that Jen and Zach have when they're kind of deciding whether to stay in LA or whatever. And she sort of makes a comment like that, you know, like this whole thing with Dancing with the Stars would just be so much easier. Like, if she wasn't tied down with a husband and kids right now, you know?
Right.
And it's just kind of like starting to make me feel really icky that like we're ignoring that side of it. And I think it's obviously because outside of the babies, we don't really see a lot of their children. I'm sure a lot of them are making the decision not to have their children film, which I understand, and you're protecting your child, but you're not if you're still having these conversations. And so thinking about Jessi's like call her daddy thing, it's like it's so obvious to me like how much she is just craving that fame, because it feels like she's tossing aside everything else, every other consideration, and is just more focused on the fame aspect, you know? And even like the fact that it's Call Her Daddy, we know this is something she's been wanting. Like on this past season, we see her have to turn down an opportunity for Call Her Daddy because who was it? Michaela? Or no, Miranda gets upset. No, it wasn't Miranda. The blonde. The one that's like probably actually gonna Lacey? Is it Lacey?
Oh, I
Why am
don't
I
know.
blanking on all of their names right now?
I
Macy,
literally,
sorry. Because Macy's upset. So it's just like
Macy,
Macy.
Macy.
Yeah, Jessi basically says yes to Call Her Daddy when she already agreed to come to Macy's event. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
this has been something that has been in the
Been
back of her
brewing.
mind for a while. Like, oh, I
Right.
had to turn down Call Her Daddy, right?
Right.
So you know that now she's like, this is my chance. Now I get
Yep.
to go on. And not
Yep.
just the opportunity she turned down. It was more for like a Call Her Daddy like live show. It was like to show up and be part of the live show. This is such a bigger opportunity than that. This is an
Yeah.
actual sit down in the
Right.
studio. This is like
Right.
the full blown episodes that she does. So you know that she's like salivating over this.
Yeah.
And I felt like that came across in the clips. And at the end of the day, he is still the father of your children. This is so weird that we're like listening to this and you're like, and he does escorts. She's just so thrilled that she has stuff on him. And I get it, but like we're just losing a lot of context right now that I
And
think
this
is like
is
gross.
okay. And everything plus one, boop, to everything that you just said, dead on. This is where back in October when we were talking about the Bachelorette of Taylor Frankie Paul, the choosing of her, okay? I held back, but I'm sorry to everything that you're saying. You guys, we were going to watch this woman look for her third baby daddy. In any other situation, we would be thinking that's a trashy person. I'm sorry. Like, if you knew someone, and I mean, I don't want to be, but like, you get to your third baby daddy, and I think we all question what happened there. Right? Like, how did we get to three? And the fact that we were like, this is going to be a great thing that whoever she finds on The Bachelorette, you know, she's going to have another baby by him, right? That's the expectation that they're going to get married, that they're going to, because she's still young and fertile. And so it's like, even that, I did kind of trip a bit, maybe. And I think back to October, the way that I said it was like, maybe there's still not a prudish side of me, but I don't know, just some side of me that was kind of taken aback that I was like, if I'm her oldest kid, I'm now thinking, oh, here comes another man to inseminate my mom. Like, and
AJ,
then to
you're
your point too, the fame of it all. It's like I think sometimes what the lies that these people tell themselves is, if I have enough fame and therefore have enough money, that can erase all of this. I'll give my
yeah.
child such a good life that they, and it's like, you guys, Bobby Christina floating in the bathtub, Aaron Carter floating in the bathtub, Mary Crosby's son who just killed himself, overdose. Like, no, that's not true. We know factually from everything that we've seen in Hollywood that, like, I'm sorry, the son who just killed his parents, Reiner's son, it's like, no,
No. And to
no.
that point, that's a great segue into the other thing that is bothering me too this week, which is it's starting. And I know Jessi and Jordan's marriage was in a bad place. It was obvious that it was going to head this way, right? But when you now start to look at the collective status of their relationships and their family
Oh,
units, it is starting to feel like we are now endorsing and glamorizing broken homes.
mm-hmm.
And I find that part really odd too. It's like there was a news item this week that like majority of Bravo housewives are now actually divorced.
Divorced.
And, don't get me wrong. I think like in terms of the housewives universe, that's probably helped add a lot to storylines and things like that because happy marriages don't really make for great television.
That's
Just
fair.
let's be real. Um, But specifically with Secret Lives, I think the reason why it bugs me is the nature of the show. Like the fact that if we just rewind when all of this started, despite the swinging and all of that, right? You had a group of people that were raised in a religion that led them down a path to get married and have kids young. Was that the best thing for them? That's an outstanding question mark, but their environment, their family, their whole life up until that point had led them to that. And those decisions had already been made before the show started.
Yeah.
And now, as the show has continued, we basically have just watched the slow, just dissolving of all of their family units, right? And I think that's really coming back to the Jessi on Call Her Daddy podcast. Like, that's what was coming across for me is just so gross. It's like,
Mm,
you shouldn't be celebrating this. Like, it's
no.
actually really sad that, like, all of
Hmm.
these women's marriages have either taken a hit or they've had additional struggles since being on the show. I think it also came out this week that apparently maybe Jesse's like hooking up with Chase, which is Miranda's ex-husband.
Okay.
And I feel like even so Miranda's come out, she had like a TikTok about it, like so she's already addressed it, kind of making it seem like it's true.
Hmm.
Um and I feel like that's another thing, like them all being separated or divorced or whatever just promotes behavior like that as well, where your ex-husband is now hooking up with your friend, right? And like, again, it's great television. But when you look at where these people started, it's just, I don't know, like it's actually starting to like weigh on me a little bit that like this is something we're all like, ha ha ha, like this is so cool. And it's like, yeah, but it's kind of just sad at this point.
I, and taking everything aside, let me just tell you all this. And it doesn't matter if your kid's in private school, doesn't matter. Unless you're homeschooling them and you're just keeping them away from the public at large. All right. Kids say shit. You're on television. Your kid is going to go roll up to school, and then some kid's going to come up to him and be like, "Your dad's fucking your mom." You know what I'm saying? Like, the torture that these kids are going to get throughout their lives because of the amount of things, her going on the escort thing. You don't think that some kid's mom is going to look at her kid and be like, "Do you know that Jesse's dad," or you know what I'm saying? Or like
I think
that.
Jordan does have like a teenage aged kid from a
That's
previous
There you
marriage, or
go.
at
You
least
don't think that
approaching.
that kid is getting, whether it's a girl or a boy, getting absolutely ridiculed. So it's just like, you gotta be, and this is why I do think sometimes if you're thinking about maybe like a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which we'll get into later, right? Like it's like boring. We talk about it all the time, interesting, not entertaining, yada yada yada. I think it's also this type of stuff though, because now at this point, if I'm Kyle, I've exploited my marriage and it is ended. So the next thing that I can exploit are my children. And she doesn't want to do it. And that could
Yeah.
that make the show more interesting? Sure. It could.
Yeah.
If we were
Yeah.
following her around getting, what is it, Alexia's wedding together, yeah, that would be more interesting. She doesn't want to do it. So you got to be better about protecting your kids from this shit. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be very curious to see whether or not they resume filming, all of that. I think I've just been reflecting on like the dynamics have changed so much now with what's happened with Taylor and Jessi and Jordan and like the dad talk of it all that like they're gonna have a tough time, I think, keeping viewers interested
Mm,
because like is Jessi gonna want to film with Jordan? I wouldn't. Like if I'm gonna be,
no.
she's clearly gearing up to go through a contentious like divorce, right? And so the show sort of needs these group scenes and things like that, but it's like what will that even look like? So anywho, well, speaking of dissolving marriages, we finally got the trailer this week for The Valley, and it is our first season without Jax Taylor. And I'm wondering, did you miss him?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the number one guy in the group.
It was a little weird, okay? Like when Brittany was like, I'm on my own now, I was like,
Brittany, we
oh
don't want
God,
you.
we're left with you.
Brittany, we never wanted you back on Vanderpump Rules. You had the lowest airtime. Come on.
I don't know. That being said, the trailer did make me excited for this new season. Rhinestoners, we will 100% be reviewing it because we obviously started Vanderpump Rules from day one and
The switch
followed them all
over
over to
from
the
real
Valley.
the Beverly Hills, Brandy Glanville, just walking from one seamless scene into another, into a new world that we knew nothing about. Vanderpump Rules. I'm giving myself chills from
I
15 years
know.
ago. Oh my goodness, what a moment. What a cinematic moment. It was when we met Sheena Shea for the first time and my life
I miss
changed.
Vanderpump so much. Well, so that was interesting actually. I think we obviously knew this, but Lala and Tom Schwartz are going to be appearing on this season, which I am not thrilled about. Um I really enjoyed Lala on Vanderpump, but
Yeah,
since we've left that dynamic, and I know she has been making appearances on the Valley, I just don't enjoy her the way that I used to.
I
So
agree.
I'm not really that excited about seeing her. Having Tom Schwartz back, I think will be fun. I mean, he's just a lovable guy. I'm sorry. It's really hard. Even through all the Katie stuff, like I always felt like I still sort of had a soft spot for Tom Schwartz. He just feels
Talk
like
about talk about like everyone was like, this was Kyle Cook's worst week on Summer House because of what he said. I was like, did anyone watch early seasons of Vanderpump Rules where Tom Schwartz literally dumped a glass of beer? You don't know, bad
we've seen a
boyfriend.
lot. We've seen a lot worse. Um,
That took a
and I'm
Kyle.
really bummed that like I just don't really want to watch another season of Janet. I think that's
Mm,
like the other thing. I was a little bit like, oh God, am I
I'll
really?
take Janet's husband, leave Janet. I find him more palatable than Janet.
Yeah, and it's like also her name too.
I
Like
know, it's like
it's
Karen.
such a Janet.
I know, she's such a Janet.
Oh,
She's such a Janet. I think what's really going to be interesting, and I am not wishing ill on Kristen and Luke at all when I say this, but I do think what will be interesting is to see a little bit of what that's going to bear because
totally.
I do think this is like maybe everyone should have taken a little page out of the Lindsay Hubbard playbook. Get the
Yeah,
baby, leave the man. Like, I do think Kristen probably wanted the baby. Now she
and not the
has it,
man.
and now she's looking at this second thing that she has to take care of, and she's like, are you even hot enough for this? Do I even find you attractive enough to deal with your bullshit as I'm trying to raise a child?
I
No.
mean I'm excited. Well, so I actually like at the end I paused when they had like the cast shot because you know they're always giving away who the focus is kind of
Uh-huh.
based off of the positioning. And
Uh-huh.
so at the forefront, equal standing was Kristen and Luke and then Danny and Nia.
Yep. Yep.
So I think that obviously, you know, and I know the cast just continues to hate that us viewers like Danny and Nia as much as we do. So I am excited for that because I think that really bugs everyone.
I know.
They're a great example of like there is a marriage that can be healthy and happy. Well,
Absolutely.
is it healthy?
Well,
Happy and still interesting.
yeah, he needs to get his, I wouldn't say, I know last season we focused a lot on the drinking. I think it's just one of those things. This is my read, and we'll see how this goes this season. But like sometimes when you're a parent, it's like a slingshot. It's like you're pulling back, pulling back, and then when you get to go, you just go way too far. So I would caution that like let's hold all judgment for that. I just think that sometimes like Yeah, you got to rein in your husband. And so maybe in the off season, she's reined him in. We'll see.
Maybe. Yeah. And it looks like Jessi might be taking a bit of a back seat, which I'm okay with. So we'll see. It looks like it will be interesting. I'm kind of interested in seeing Brittany dating, only just to see like what she is like without
Hmm.
Jax in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know.
One thing I don't
Wasn't
need to
necessarily
see.
blown away. I
No,
would
and
say.
I think too, we need to your point about the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, we need to take the kids off that show. Like, I don't need to see Jesse's girl anymore, adorable though she is. I don't need to see that anymore. And I don't
Yeah.
need to see anything about Cruz and his autism. I think that that's great that we addressed it. I think now we're getting to the age where, once again, these kids are going to be headed into elementary school soon, private or public, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. So I hope that
Yeah, like
I
let's
hope
just
we're focused more on the dating, less of I'm taking Cruz to speech therapy. It's like, I don't, let's keep Cruz's privacy, please.
yeah. Well, you hit on it earlier. I was really surprised that Andy came out and said that this was going to be like Kyle's worst episode.
Uh-huh.
I feel like that was marketing a little bit. I also don't really understand that comment when we already know that there's going to be a physical fight that happens at some point
Right.
in the season. So, and again, we don't know like the circumstance or how that's going to unfold, but I would think that him getting into a physical altercation would actually be his worst episode.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think it was because of some of the things that he said to Amanda. But there's a lot swirling right now with Summer House, actually. There's a lot of drama.
You
We'll get to
sent me
that in a
that last
sec.
night, but I jumped in, I read it. I hadn't heard anything about the Amazon Live of it all. Tell
Oh,
us.
see, I saw the Amazon Live thing. And
Okay.
actually, I was trying to remember if we talked about this on the pod. I think I might have told you this, but I 100% believe that this is all true. And here
Okay.
is why.
Okay. That's what I was going to
And I
ask. What
think
do you
I might
think?
have told you this already. So a few weeks back, I was on Insta and I had seen that West, Jessi, Kyle, and maybe one other guy, I can't remember now, had all gone out, brunch, lunch, whatever. Okay. Not long after that, I can't remember if I saw it on Amanda's account or West's account, but it was a picture of the two of them out. And yes, I told you this. They were not that far away from like the first place. And I just thought that was really weird at the time, right? Of like, he's wearing the same outfit. Why are you going out for brunch with the bros, including her ex-husband, and
Ex-husband.
then meeting up with her?
Wait. I
Well,
remember that. That was like 2 weeks ago.
I obviously don't know if this is true or not, but I saw this morning on Insta that apparently where all of this is coming from is that there is a source that has come forward to a blogger that they're friendly with that lives across the street from Amanda's new building that she has, moved into since leaving Kyle. And that source is able to see into Amanda's apartment, which New Yorkers, we all know, that's very common, depending on where you live, the buildings, like whatever, right?
It's
Like
one
that's
of
a
my
very
favorite
normal,
parts
especially if
about
you're
New
in some of
York.
these high rises. What?
It's one of my favorite parts about New York. Really quick aside. Nicole used to live back in her NYU days. She used to live in this like high-rise building down by Seaport Village. And it had these floor to ceiling windows where you could just like you could stand it was like something out of a movie. Do you remember those? You could just stand and you could just watch like the seaport, but you could also watch all of the people down below in the
Totally.
Seaport Village going to like that Yankee shop, whatever. It is one of my favorite parts of New York. Keep going.
It's just so that in that sense believable. Apparently, this person took a photo of Wes and Amanda kissing in Amanda's apartment. And the rumor is that that person then either that person or the podcaster showed Sierra this photo. And that is why she canceled the live because she has been shown actual proof that this rumor is true. And the proof is a photo of them in, which is also like a crazy violation of privacy as well.
Where did you hear this? I have heard nothing about this. This is
I just
incredible.
saw
This is
this morning.
breaking
I don't know if
news.
this is true. I was reading a bunch of like DMs where someone was sort of recounting the story, saying like, this is what happened, this is how it went down, and this is why now Sierra is like not
I'm
doing
sorry,
live
I
and all of
believe it.
that, because there's actually, I'm sorry,
I
I
believe it.
believe this. This stuff is like so out, it's too out there to be made up.
Where there's smoke,
Okay.
there's fire.
It would be different if someone was like, oh, well, I heard from someone that they saw them out at Pastis together or whatever. This story is so specific to say that you have a photo that you saw from someone living. Like, come on, who's making that up? I buy it. Also, this is a good segue to the episode. And I know I am probably not going to be popular for saying this, but I don't care. We all know Kyle is terrible.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about that.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Kyle
not,
made, you
so I
guys,
just want to be very clear before what I say.
why do you
like,
think that he looks the way he does? Some point in his life, he made a deal with a devil. Like that is, he has a direct line to the devil. Go on.
100%. But Amanda is so not innocent in this situation. And I am so tired of the narrative on the show and off that she is. Like, I just don't understand. And it goes back, I think we talked about this on last week's podcast of like people saying, like, why are we giving her the Paige DeSorbo treatment when like
Right.
she's not deserving?
Right.
But it extends even beyond that, right?
Yes.
Like this week's episode, it's like, yes, Kyle is a piece of shit for talking to his wife like that. But I feel like what you don't see and what is clear if you're sort of like really paying attention is she does egg him on. Okay. And I also just think there has to be some accountability for the fact that like people do start to do weird things when their relationships are deteriorating. Okay.
Yeah.
And for women, a very common, easy thing to do is to try and make your partner jealous. Because you're attempting to see, do they still care? Is this, how much do they care? Are we still in this relationship? And, or, you know, or if I go hang out with these guys, are you going to be cool with it or not? Okay. She knows what she's doing. That's all I want to say. So it's just,
we've never seen,
I just
I'm
wish we
sorry.
could bring that to the fold. His reaction is unacceptable, but is she needling him? 1,000%.
I knew she was
now-
needling him when she jumped into the pool in the season 1. I'm sorry. Amanda has never done that before. Amanda might have done that back in the Amanda days, but for the last 5 years, she has been Miss, you know, whatever. And episode 1, jumping in and showing everyone nipple was a choice.
And the way that she's kind of choosing to navigate this season is a choice. And this now news with Sierra, if it is true, to me, it's just a further indictment of her character. And so that's really what I wanted to say. It's just like, I believe this because I'm not surprised. I do think she's sort of a manipulative person. I don't really think she's a good friend. I don't think she's a good wife. If she's out there hooking up with West, that just confirms it. Okay. There's so many other people in the world. You don't need to go pick. And again, debatable how close Sierra and Amanda have ever really been. Let's be real. But that's still your friend. That's still the only other woman that has consistently been in the house with you. Okay. So it's wrong. And it's so, to me, validating of things I have already thought about her, if I'm being honest.
And I want to say this too. And someone, I'm not saying maybe some, to your point about the Kyle of it all. First of all, one thing. I am not excusing away that man's behavior, but you guys have to understand, especially in marriages, sometimes like the way that people talk to each other, it is like I'm not saying like I know a ton of people, but if you don't think that I've seen people be in a marriage be like, yeah, well then fuck you, and the other person be like, well then fuck you. Like it does happen. I am not excusing it. I'm just saying like that happens. And also like we all know it happens because your parents fought. Sorry, everyone's parents fought. Now, maybe expletives, I know in my house were not allowed. But I'm sure there are people who have seen their parents hurl some insults at each other. So let's just say that no one's perfect. To your point about the Amanda, I've seen this commentary come out this last week, and I do think there's something to it where it's like, I do think Amanda's a lazy person. And I do think that Amanda was a fan of this show. And I do think that perhaps a long time ago, we're racking our brains. Why would Amanda allow this behavior? Because it allows Amanda to be rich and to be famous
and to live in a penthouse in New York and not work.
Well, exactly to that point, I saw something because this again, it's the double standard of it all that's annoying me. I saw a post about Kyle where they were saying like Kyle is struggling because he married a fan and now she's not his biggest fan, and that's the problem, is that all she really was for him was like
I'm sorry.
someone to worship him, right?
It's the
But if
Ariana and Tom of it all.
but if
Ariana was
that's
such
true, then the reverse is also true, which is she didn't marry him because she was in love with him. She married him because she idolized him, and now we're all having to pay for that. And the reason that I know that this is true
good.
was when she said to Wes, I just often think to myself, like, this, I can't do any better. This marriage
Boom.
is a result of her own
Boom.
insecurity.
Boom.
So
Boom, baby.
again, he's not a good person, but she also like keeps getting a pass for that, and it's annoying the hell out of me.
Okay, I'm sorry. And that's what I was trying. Okay. To me, it's a little bit of the Tom Sandoval and Ariana Madix of it all, too. Ariana broke up the relationship with Kristen. Like, you guys, like, we gave her so, and I understand, but Ariana and Tom
lived in the same apartment that Kristen lived in.
They
That's
were
how much,
dating
like,
the same
another
way.
woman was living in the same space that you were, and you just slid right in there as if that was cool.
You did the same thing. You were Raquel 8 years ago. You did the same thing. And it's not like you and Tom were married. It's not like Kristen and Tom were married. There was no marriage involved. It's not like what Raquel did was so much worse because it was against a marriage. It was two people cohabitating together who had been dating for a while. So yeah, it's like you get them how you lose them, first of all. That is true. Or you lose them how you get them, rather. I'm sorry. And I think, yes, +1 to everything you're saying. And that is why this doesn't surprise me. If what you are saying with the kissing in the room, in the window thing is true,
Yeah,
I
we don't
honestly,
know, right?
we don't know. Alleged.
I thought it was really interesting. You know, probably one of the more interesting conversations of the episode was Sierra sitting down with the guys to really debrief on what had happened the night before and share her opinion that she thinks they should be separated. And I think we saw like Jessi being really shocked by this, Wes less so. I think Ben was sort of taking it in. Ben was taking it in like, ooh, if they get separated, I can finally hook up with Amanda. But I think what was interesting about that is like, yeah, Sierra probably sees the reality of the situation a lot more deeply than other people do, in that she is probably like, this has been wrong for a long time. You know, like
this has been wrong for a long time.
I think the rest of them were having to sort of like catch up to that because they had not witnessed that type of behavior before. But I felt like Sierra wasn't even speaking from a perspective of like, oh, because of his behavior. I felt like she was speaking more from a perspective of like, this relationship has never worked.
Yeah.
And we're just like continuing to drag it out. So like, can we just all be done?
Okay. I wanted to really quickly, and then we'll move on. I wanted to speak to what you were saying about her needling him. And I wanted to say, everyone, if you are someone who's listening and who has watched Summer House like us from the very beginning, you'll know what Nicole is saying is true beyond this season. I think even taking this season aside, right? And I think Kyle touched on it too when he was walking around the house. It's like, if you've watched previous seasons, you know she cuts him down to castmates. You know he'll be doing something and she'll be like, fucking idiot over there. Or he'll be doing something and you're like, oh, Kyle. She does complain about him all the time and make it seem like he embarrasses her, right? And that's the thing. Like if Kyle, I'm not saying that Kyle hasn't done that to her, but if every episode he was just constantly making fun of Amanda the way that she does constantly bag on him, it might change the way we all felt about Kyle. And I do think sometimes as a man, you're supposed to maybe just take some of that, on the chin. It's like, it's a way of almost flirting a little bit to like early in your relationship. Like we all do it. We like to razz them, but like at a certain point you have to know when to pull back and show some
I mean, one of my most favorite like real memes right now is like things I can say to my husband that he can't say to me.
Right.
Have you seen those where it's then like they flip it and it's the guy saying all the things that the woman would say,
and you're like,
you better not. But,
call
like,
the police.
We do say things like get away from me right now. Like if your man said that to you, you would be like, excuse me? Okay.
What?
But that double standard is
Yeah.
the thing that I feel like we should be talking about more
Thank you.
and just being accepting of it instead of what we like. I just, the way that their relationships get discussed sometimes on Summer House pisses me off because yes, men need to take accountability for their shitty behavior, but in the last few years, I feel like women have been doing such an amazing job of like therapizing away their own bullshit and the stuff that they
Totally.
do to contribute. And I just
Totally.
think we need to tease that out a little bit more. And I'm saying
Absolutely.
that as a woman, okay? So to your
Absolutely.
point, like you have to acknowledge the male ego. If you want to be with a man, you have to accept the ways in which they are different to us, right? And being in social settings where you are constantly belittling your partner who is a man is a surefire way for the relationship to end, right? Whereas conversely, maybe it wouldn't land in the same way. It gets old. And she is digging on him all of the time. And I think, like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but even in some of his like confessionals, it's like, again, it doesn't excuse the behavior, but you almost can feel like how genuinely he's hurting and trying to figure out like why it got to this place. And like, of course, he's part of the problem and he's contributed to it, right? But like, you do feel for him a little bit, and that it's like, who would be handling that much better if your partner was constantly making you feel like, ew, go away, or like you're the
I
weird one here, you're the cringe one here, you're the ugh, like all the time.
I I
It's hard.
I I will say this, as a wife, this is some of the stuff that I honestly can't understand. I don't get this type of stuff. I don't get this behavior. I'll give you a quick example, very quick anecdote. I was somewhere for 4th of July a couple of years ago, people standing around. I heard two people standing next to each other, a woman and a man that were not married to one another. The man said to the woman, "Hey, where'd your husband goes?" And she said, "I don't know, probably trying to find his dick." Meaning like find his manhood because he's a little.
Yeah.
And I like looked at my husband and he kind of looked at me. And I think for a lot of people, like that comment is like, oh, whatever, they're joking around. For me, I was like, I
You're like,
would
what?
never. I would never give that to another man over my husband. Like I would never give that little like this is how I think about my husband. What are now go big dog him, you know? It's like that's crazy to me. Like you chose him. Like you do have to respect him to some degree. Also, if you want that respect, it's mutual. I'm
Well, and
not
that's why
saying
Kyle's struggling. He's the oldest person in the house, yet he has
right.
no respect. And
Right.
it's being driven from her lack of respect for him. If
Respect.
she was treating him differently, the rest of the cast would also be treating him
And that's
differently.
what he's trying
It's
to
making it
say.
acceptable to be like, Kyle sucks
That's
all
what
the
he is
time.
trying to say. He's like, you were my biggest fan. You used to think I was so cool. Now you hate me. And I don't know. I'm not doing anything different. I am the exact same Kyle. I've changed
I'm
nada.
still making terrible decisions.
Right.
I'm still
And I would say, I'm sorry to go here, but this will really be the last thing that I say. It's also interesting that the weather has changed when the money has changed. You know, now suddenly he has a $4 million something
yeah.
hanging over his head, and now their love is gone. And so I would question a little bit there too about Amanda. It's like, well, then did she see that moving forward there would be no $3,000 Cartier watches for the next 5 years and thought, hey, with the fame and the steam that I have, I can find somewhere else. And I guess to say West is that other person is a fallacy because he's probably making like $150 at Complex eking together brand deals. So I'm not saying that he's like a
Yeah.
millionaire or anything, but I don't know. I also just think it's like maybe she just felt like, well, if the money isn't there, then I'm not going to deal with the bullshit.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I just want to say from a programming perspective, the absolute craziest thing about everything that is happening on Summer House right now between Amanda and Kyle is that we are still being expected to watch them on a spinoff.
Like, what?
What is happening? This thing hasn't even aired
What?
yet. I haven't even seen a trailer for it.
Thank
What are
you.
we talking about?
Lindsay
Why
is
am I no
rolling in
longer
her
watching
grave.
a show anchored by these two? That to me is like one thing I don't understand. I feel like Bravo should be pulling back on that. It's very strange. I do want to take a second to give a shout out. And, you know, I am always on the fence with how I feel about him, obviously, but I do want to just say that West was the MVP of this episode. And I want
Absolutely.
men to take note of how Wes navigated this situation because kudos to him, okay?
Yes.
When he stepped to Kyle, like,
Yes.
because you saw him do the whole, like, men do the square up stance, like, where they're like, I'm going to speak to you, but like right here, okay?
Yep.
When he stepped to Kyle to say, like, you need, like, that is like one of the first times I saw Wes get big on someone.
Yeah.
And it also,
And
I
you
was like,
yep.
oh, now I get it.
I saw the
I
former
see you,
football
Sierra.
player.
I get it, girl.
I
I
know.
understand. Okay.
I said, "Oh, there's the wide receiver."
Yeah.
Oh, those are
All
okay.
right. The masculinity is finally entering the chat. We get it. So good for you, West. Good mediator skills. Okay. Good concern, good
Wes
vulnerability,
said,
all of the things. It was
Wes, you
working
could
for me.
literally see, like, the funny part about that, like, everything that you're saying is so funny. It's just because it's exactly my thoughts. Like, you could just, there was just that switch, that, like, Midwest. I don't know exactly where he's from, but he's not from California. He's from
Yeah, he's
somewhere in the
Midwest.
middle. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There was that
He's like Missouri.
Midwest country boy flip where he said, "This is not how we treat our women.
Yeah.
This is not, no, 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 no."
And I will just say, evidenced by the distinct difference how all the other men, some of which I want to categorize as either Northeast or international, were not doing that. Okay. So, yes, that was a very Midwest, Southern value, true
Jessi,
gentleman type of
Jessi the
thing.
wasp.
These
Jessi
Northeast
the
men,
wasp.
Jesse's like, I don't understand what's so wrong. What do
know.
you mean? We all talk to our wives that way. What's the big deal? That's like an average.
Yeah. He's like, "Wait, have you ever been to a bat mitzvah before? Are you freaking kidding me? What are you talking about?" No, I agree. Wes can be wishy-washy. I also think sometimes, I want to just say this. I don't have a million examples in my life of this. Like, I can't give you names of, like, oh, this has happened a lot. But, like, what I do know for sure is that, like, sometimes things happen by proximity just because. So, there are plenty of people that I do know that have gotten divorced and has married a neighbor or married, like, a friend, or, like, like that girl that they told you never to be worried about. It's like you've heard that story a million times. So just to kind of put a bow on the whole, like, West and Amanda thing, I think it's very possible, if you're just kind of lensing out, that the two of them fell in love in some way years ago. Like, this could be true. This does happen. Where, I don't know if, did you ever watch
But come on, I don't buy that because Wes is still like salivating over
playing?
Sierra this season. I think that's
Yeah.
what makes this moment so messed up. I mean, literally in last week's episode, Wes is talking about, someone said to Wes, "Do you think you're still in love with Sierra?" And he was like, did you? So
I know, yeah, that was Ben and him
no, I'm
talking on the
sorry.
thing.
This is inexcusable as far as I'm concerned. And
Did you ever
and
watch?
unless it happened in this episode where that's the only thing I could see, to your point, is that Amanda started to see him as a knight in shining armor, and
Yes.
maybe this is
Okay.
the spark.
Yes. Um, yes, I agree. Like, that she was like, "That's what I want. I want someone who would actually take up for
And
me."
it's gonna come in and comfort me and hold
Yes.
me and like all of that.
Yes.
So I
Sorry, I
think,
don't
yeah.
know. I'm going on such a tangent here, but all I wanted to get out was that have you ever watched The Fablemans? That movie that was about Steven Spielberg. It came
No.
out a couple of years ago. It was like about his growing up. It stars like Seth Rogen,
Mm.
Paul Dano, and Michelle Williams. That's the main cast. And it's about Steven Spielberg's life. And the whole thing is basically, I didn't know this about Steven Spielberg, by the way. I had no idea of any Spielberg lore. But basically, like, his mom and his dad lived together, whatever. And his dad had this best friend that he was like a scientist with. I think Steven Spielberg's dad was like the first engineer at IBM. Very interesting. And the whole time that they were friends, Michelle was like in love with the best friend, to the point that it, like, she had to break up the marriage. It's a
Yeah.
very good movie and everyone should watch it. I didn't see that this twist was coming, that Michelle Williams was going to run away with Seth Rogen. It really did take me back. But I guess, like, that's kind of what I'm talking about too, that it's like, maybe not in love, but there could have always been for West. Like,
Yeah.
yes, if that, to me, that girl, of course Ciara, right? But like Amanda wasn't available, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, like maybe and I do think a little bit there is this thing with Amanda that I would equate to the Taylor Frankie Paul of it all that I would also equate to Paige, and I might delete this. I'm not sure. But I remember when Paige was fucking that Italian stallion on Winter House, Andrea or whatever.
Yeah.
That like there was this moment where he was just kind of like going off about the fact that that she was the smallest person that he had ever had sex with. And how much he like loved that, you
Yeah.
know? And that is a little bit where I do think a red thread. These are like 23-inch waisted women, you know? Like I do think there's
Well,
just a little bit of like
I'm not afraid to bring race into it because it's a good segue to Southern Charm. I think the bigger thing is I don't think West or Jessi would ever settle down with a black woman, and that's what bothers me so much about the way that they engage with Sierra is that
certainly
I
not
think
Jessi.
exactly as she has sort of accurately picked up on, they just want to experience her. I don't think
Great way
they
of putting it.
actually view her as someone who's a lifelong partner, and that's where like the Amanda and West thing, like hate to say it, but like she is probably more aligned racially with what he sees himself settling down with. And that's just an unfortunate reality. And to segue, that is exactly why Southern Charm relationships play out the way they do. It's why Vanita continues to have such a hard time. She is a fish out of water in this world that they have cultivated, and it's not helping her. But I think we've also seen that too. We talked about this last season with Shep and his little 20 whatever year old, okay? Like that whole
Sierra.
thing was
Another
so
Sierra.
weird because I felt like Shep was treating her like an object. Like it was like he even
Absolutely.
used the word exotic, which like no
He
one should be using
absolutely
that
did.
word anymore. We're
We don't
not
say that
like
anymore.
that is really gross to be using that word and talking about women. Um that's all he wasn't going to settle down despite what he wanted the audience to believe. He just wanted to have the experience of her, you know? So sometimes it's like there was that big race conversation last week on Summer House. And of course, neither of those men are ever going to cop to that. But that's the real thing that I wish they would put out there. I wish someone would turn around and say, like, hey, Wes, Jessi, like putting the whole Sierra thing aside, have you ever dated a black woman before? Would
Right. Do you
you?
even know what that means? Yeah.
Like, are you open? Like, have you dated outside of your race? Like,
Yeah.
why can't we at least ask those questions? Because I think
Oh,
it would be revealing of their
yes.
mindsets in a way that would confirm a lot about their behavior. But
Absolutely. I
anyways,
no, sorry,
Vanita,
really not that Ciara is on associate. So taking Ciara aside, because like this doesn't really apply to her. I did see a TikTok this week that I thought was kind of interesting about like how there's this culture right now, a little bit about dating where these girls are like, he didn't respond to one text. Fuck him. I've got a roster. I'm gonna marry a billionaire. I'm gonna there's this like thinking that like these women are really running a program out here, you know, and like a lot of demands or whatever. And this guy was basically just you know, he was a lawyer from New York, like who was talking about it. So like I'm like, I don't know, he might have some authority in the space. But he was basically saying like this is not how life works. You're not gonna like be plucked from obscurity by
yeah,
some guy who has coin in his pocket because the reality is that you have to operate in these spaces. Shep is a great example of that. He just finally accepted his inheritance of this large house or whatever, this huge house that at the end of the day, he needs someone who knows what it is to run a home like that, to operate in a neighborhood like that, to raise children where you're going to go to.
if you can believe it, am now going to do another controversial thing and defend another controversial character
No.
as well. This is the week of just defending, you know, the Kyles and the Craigs of the world. But we got the second reunion this week, obviously. And again, I will be very clear in saying that I do not condone Craig's behavior and it is unacceptable to talk to people that way, blah, 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 blah. Okay. But I had this aha moment watching the reunion this week. And I think it got sparked by Madison's comments when they were rehashing what happened in the van that night, where Madison sort of had said, like, if she was there, things would have gone differently. And I think Andy then dug in on that a bit. And she made the point, like, if I saw a friend struggling like that, out of his mind, right? Like off the rails, I would be trying to like de-escalate, right? I would be trying to kind of like help that person because they're out of their mind. And Madison did describe it like that. Like she was saying, Craig was out of his mind. And
Poked out of his mind. Sorry,
yeah.
allegedly.
And I think obviously like there's mixed opinions on that, but I do tend to agree with Madison in that it was very clear from the scene that they were just gonna let Craig keep going, right? Because he's wiling out. They're like, oh, just let everyone see this is who he is, right? And I thought Madison did make a fair point of like, if you put yourself in Craig's situation, like that is what you would want a friend to do. Craig, you don't know what you're saying right now. You don't know what you're doing right now. I don't think you are in the right mind to be doing this, right? You would be trying to de-escalate, and that is not what we saw happen. And so this brings me to my larger point of why this whole season has bothered me, and now this reunion is really bothering me, which is yes, Craig did stuff that he should be apologizing for, but what is really happening right now that is not being called out because Andy will never say it is that you have two couches full of people that are just so happy that they are not the storyline this season.
Which
It
that's such a great way to say it.
it just hit me watching it of like if we
Such a
go
great read.
back to last season, we had Shep and all of his crazy stuff. Like there was a lot going on.
JT.
We had Vanita, we had JT, we had the whole thing.
Yep.
Okay. And I think that probably some of the other cast was eager for a break. And what happened? Oh, Craig is off of a relationship. He's spiraling. He's back to old Craig again. Okay.
Yep.
Which let's just remember for context, they weren't able to hurl some of these things towards him in recent years because Paige had him on a short leash. Okay.
Yep.
And she was basically keeping him away from them to an extent. So they didn't have this sort of stuff on him. And now that they do, they are salivating. And what's making it just so odd is like Austin has every right to sit there and like air his grievances with Craig and all of that. But this entire thing has just become a distraction where we're not digging into anyone else. Like, and I know we have one episode left, so maybe it will come. But like, where is the conversation about Austin being a piece of shit in basically
To Audrey.
emotionally cheating on his girlfriend with
Yeah.
Sally?
Yeah.
Like, where's that conversation? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it just sort of hit me of like, I really think you can see the jealousy come through that they all have sometimes with him. And the reason that Madison's responses are so different is because Madison's not jealous of Greg.
Right.
Madison's happy being Madison. So she can show up as a true friend and be like, yeah, he has some issues. I would have helped him with that. Shep and Austin, meanwhile, are loving this. They are loving that Craig is struggling. They are loving that we do
They're
not have to
so
have a
jealous
deeper
of him.
conversation about the fact that they still suck.
They're
That's all I want to say. Again, it goes back to like, I'm not trying to defend the villains or the men that are coming out in these seasons as like who everyone wants to hate, but I am getting a little bit tired of like the lack of examination of everyone else or getting deep on why they were behaving that way in the first place, you know? Like it's just a little weird. And so I feel like this has definitely become the like shit on Craig show. And first of all, it's just not that entertaining.
Well,
and then
one thing I want to say,
it's a great distraction from them having to get real about their own bullshit.
And to be on the get real about your own bullshit tip, this is my issue. Tell me what you think. You said it last week about Real Housewives or something. Like we're supposed to suspend. Oh no, you were talking about Taylor. We're supposed to just how did you say it? Suspend our belief.
Suspend disbelief.
Yes. Suspend disbelief. Okay. Like, and this was maybe last week when Madison said it about Audrey, but Madison is sitting there and she's like, I really think that it's going to be that Audrey was, you know, the love of his life that got away, like that Austin's going to be laying. And I just was like, No, like, I'm sorry, but like, no, I am not going to accept that. There's nothing that I have seen out of that relationship. He didn't want to be in the relationship the moment he got into the relationship. And now you want me to sit here and believe or care about what? That Austin thinks that Audrey. No, he doesn't. And like, I love Madison, so I'm not like bagging on Madison, but I just thought that I was thinking to myself, like, you're the woman that got away from Austin. You are the one that he will be laying in bed thinking
Yeah.
that got it's you, Madison. It's not Audrey. Okay. And like, also, like, please don't, like, we're smarter than that. Like, we watched the whole season. We know that Austin didn't even like that girl. And now I'm supposed to believe that that's going to be the one that got away from him. Like, I don't. I don't know. It's just it was like we were talking about this with Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and I'm sure we'll touch on it in a second, right? The interesting and not entertaining part. It's just Vanita's storyline. 2 episodes about Sally, done. Then it
Yeah.
was like a smattering about Craig. Shep had no storyline. Austin's storyline was the same storyline it's been for 2 years, which is hating Craig. Molly, where was Molly? Rod, no storyline. Rod, no storyline. So yeah, to your point, you have literally like a horseshoe of people around you, and no one had a storyline except Craig, who actually brought something to the table. And then the whole 2 reunions are going to be about how awful Craig is. It's like, you guys are lucky that you have Craig. Sorry,
Well,
this show
not
wouldn't
to
be on air.
mention even that, to your point about storyline, right? Like, if you actually look at the incidents that occurred, it really is this one in Mexico that they're all fired up about,
This is the one,
right?
and it was the last two
Because some of the other
episodes.
ones didn't make it to camera. I know Sally claims there were other incidents. Okay, well, we didn't see them as the viewer, right? And then if you go back to some of the other incidents, I think you could argue, was Craig in the wrong? Like, going back to instance to the book party, right? Where Craig
Yeah.
blew up. Well, Austin was needling him. And if you have a friend, per the conversation we were just having about Amanda and Kyle's marriage, if you have a relationship dynamic where that person is constantly ragging on you every time you're in public together, yeah, you might have an instance where it's going to hit you the wrong way and you blow up. So even when that happened, like, was Craig really in the wrong there? I don't know, right? It seemed like people at the party thought it was an overreaction. But what he was overreacting to did happen. It wasn't like he pulled that out of thin air. Austin was being a dick. And then he lost his cool. So it's like, even that is weird to me. It's not like we have, like, oh, every single episode, Craig was losing his shit on people. I think Craig spent most of the season pursuing Sally.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
what I felt he was spending most. Every time up until Mexico that we saw Craig, it was something to do with him trying to date Sally. I mean, sorry, Charlie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know.
This
I
is
feel
where,
like,
okay,
yes, it
I'm
sucks that he
sorry.
did the Mexico thing, but now they're making it seem like that was the tenor of the whole season, and I don't
And
know
we
if I
didn't see that.
agree with that. But
No.
you are so right with that rundown. None of them had storylines.
Not, okay, you know what it reminds me of? Oh fuck, what was I gonna say? Can't think of it. That makes me so mad. What were you talking about right before that? And I was like, oh, that reminds me of that season. Well, I'm not gonna be able to remember it. But yeah, listen, I think too, one of the things I do want to say is, and I don't know, I need to watch more Southern Hospitality, so I don't want to like get into a whole Southern Hospitality conversation about, because I don't know enough to say like
I'm
Justin
loving
is
it this
Justin
season,
is a
as
terrible
always.
person. I'm not clear on that. It did gobsmack me that Charlie was like, yeah, and then I'm dating Justin from this like lower level. I was like, then
Who
girl,
also is
and
like
you deserve
very
everything you
messy
get.
on Southern
Huh?
Hospitality. He's
What?
messy.
Right. Like
He's
that's what,
going
okay.
after
Is he?
Mia while hooking up with this other girl.
Okay, see,
Like,
this is the lore I don't know. I don't know Justin lore.
he has basically, like, from what we've seen, he has like a regular hookup who has been brought into the group even though she's not friends with any of the girls.
Okay.
And he also has been shooting his shot at Mia, but Mia's been in this relationship. And so once she gets out of the relationship, he's like trying to go at it again. And
Mm-hmm.
this, like, last week's episode, it was funny because they had a girls' night. And I think the girl said to Mia, like, will you just stay away for something? And she's like, no. Like, she's like, I'm not friends with you. Like, I don't.
That's what I was gonna say. That's so funny you said that. Now I remember what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, and I was gonna mention Southern hospitality specifically when I said it. Maddie,
You guys, I also just want to put out there that, like, yeah, I know no one that's listening is like thinking that these relationships are normal or anything like that, or, but just going back to the being good media consumers, it's like to be in a friend group wherein people made up a lie about the love of your life, cheating on you, to then send you in a spiral and into the arms of another man. Like, that's not a friend group. And this is what I was going to say. Now I really remember. This is why I feel like Lisa Vanderpump for me is such a spirit animal, because the reason why Lisa Vanderpump didn't work is because she's a boss. And so she thought that she could just fire people out of her life. And that's exactly the energy I keep. She's like, Kyle, gone. Dorit, gone. Like, and that didn't work on a program where like you have to maintain friendships, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think that the reality is that not that me and Lisa are alike, but like I approach these things when I see these things happen, I'm like, I would simply fire these people out of my life. You would never be in, I would never fuck
Yeah.
with you ever again. And I think that is the issue of like maybe even being like specifically putting a lens on Vanita and Craig. The reality is these are two people that don't want to fuck with each other ever again in their whole lives, and
Yeah.
yet they have to film together. And
Well,
it
and I think what makes it even sadder for Vanita is Madison's comments this episode, which I did kind of appreciate because I felt like it was Madison's way of adding context when she was like, this is the first time on the show that all of us, and I know when she says all of us, clearly that doesn't mean Vanita, are actually friends. Right. And I thought that was interesting that
that's
she
true.
made a point to say that of like, we all hang out. I really, that was fun to hear as a viewer because you're like, okay, this is a little bit more authentic than maybe some of these other franchises where, to your point, as we know, they're more coworkers. So
Right.
I actually thought that that was like very advantageous for Bravo that Madison said that because it's like, oh, okay. So like you guys, when cameras are down, it is true that you all are really hanging out. But I think that also does highlight why Vanita has such a tough time because she's clearly not
You're not getting those
really
invites.
part of that group, which
No.
makes her an outsider.
No.
So,
To your point though, you said it last week about Amanda, that there's just like something, there is something. There's something about Vanita we're not seeing. We're not picking up. There's some sort of
yeah, it's not.
disconnect. There's something she does. Like, even like I was thinking about like this isn't it, but like, okay, I won't even use that example. I was gonna say, like, sometimes like people's breath smells. And you're just like, oh,
Like,
I love
say,
her.
do
Like,
you
I don't
watch
know.
Potomac?
Stacey. Oh, maybe
Casey
that's where
on
I
Potomac,
got
they
that.
straight up just be telling her, your breath stinks. I don't want to stand next to you.
Honestly, I believed that. I was like, "Oh no, I bet you she do be having dry breath, because you know that there are people in your life like that where it's like, "Oh my God, okay, that's dry. That's dry today." And I'll give you 5 times of dry breath, but like if every time you're in my face with dry breath, now I'm thinking, like, what's your body, like, what's your like hygiene, like, so that it's just to your point, it's this, it's there could just be, I'm not saying Vanita smells, please do not, listeners, that is not what I'm saying by any means. I'm just saying there could be something that we don't even know.
Yeah, possible. Well, rounding things out, and I definitely think you have a bad season when talking about the season is more of a news story than the season because Andy decided to feud with Sarah Michelle Gellar this week, who
He's mad.
said what we all were thinking. This season has been boring. Rhinestoners, we've been saying it every week, and now she's being vilified for that, which, like, these are the moments that, like, I just wish Andy would handle them differently,
I
because
agree.
I like him. I've always liked him, but when he gets like this, it's not cute.
It's not.
Okay? Coming for Sarah Michelle Gellar because she just said like it wasn't what she didn't tear down the whole franchise, she didn't. One thing I did really love about this interview that I do just have to bring up briefly because it just made me smile. I think we might have touched that Dorit and Sarah Michelle Gellar were on Watch What Happens
Yeah.
live with each
Yeah, yeah,
other.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And I was trying the whole time to pick up on like any kind of vibes, right?
Uh-huh.
Like I wasn't getting good vibes, right? Like to me, that's my
Oh,
favorite thing about Watch What Happens Live is like to see what the dynamic is between the two guests. And like if they
mm,
don't know each other, what's the dynamic like? If it's a Bravo person and a real celebrity and the real celebrity watches the show, what's the dynamic like, right? I just wasn't seeing like a lot of warmth. And there were even kind of like very subtle answers from Sarah Michelle Gellar where like if you were not paying super close attention, you probably wouldn't have taken it as a dig, but it was a dig. So
man,
in
I
this
have to go
same
watch it.
interview where she
Okay, I'm
says
gonna
it's
have to watch it.
boring, they asked her to list some of her favorite housewives, and she lists almost everyone except Dorit. And it's fine. We're all allowed to have our favorites, but it just made me crack up because I was like, yeah, this is why it was the way it was with you two last week because like
Oh
you've
my
just
God.
basically shouted the praise of like everyone else
Oh
except for Dorit. And we
my
get
God.
it, Sarah Michelle Gellar. You are not a Dorit fan. That's okay. I have enough to be a fan for all of us because
Yeah.
Dorit continues to shine for me.
Don't she though?
And even though nothing is happening on this season, and this is a good, like, Dorit is basically, the Craig right now, right? Like, for some reason, the only thing that we have going on this season is centered around Dorit, which is crazy to me because I was thinking about this morning. Like, when Erica was going through her stuff, like, she was behaving in a way that merited her being the center of everything.
Oh,
She
for
was
sure.
out of control. She was mixing drugs and alcohol.
You're slurring.
She was erratic. Okay. There were times where the women were almost like scared of her, and that merited focusing on her for the season. But what is so weird to me, and this is like where, I've been speaking about this each week, but last week was my peak. Like, I am so sick of Kyle. Dorit is not doing enough to be the focus. And I love my girl, so I'm not trying to say that she's boring, but like there's not enough that is
No.
happening with this breakdown of her and PK's marriage to merit her being the center of every single episode and every single conversation. She's not really even doing that crazy of stuff. This episode probably is the craziest thing she did was going and getting in the car and driving away from them. That's probably the most
Yeah.
dramatic out there thing that she's done. And that comes after being pushed to the brink.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found the dinner conversation of this episode so fascinating because what has been happening as I'm watching Beverly Hills is I find myself screaming at the screen. I'm officially entering those older years where you start talking to the TV screen. And I would say something and then Dorit would go and like clock it. Kyle's game plan here is so painfully obvious that it is taking me out of the show. And I
Yeah,
think
I
Bo's
know.
picked up on it too, of like, oh, it's just very clear what Kyle is trying to do here. Like, I just don't understand Kyle's mindset in not realizing how transparent this is reading. Like, that's the only thing I don't get. Kyle is so clever. She's a producer on the show. She produces even when she's not being asked to produce. Like, we
She's
know that
great
she's
at it.
the driving force of this franchise for a long
Yes.
time.
Yes.
And for someone who is that savvy to not be able to see how this is going to play out poorly for her is just so bizarre to me. Like, I think Bo said it last night where she was like, Kyle is trying to basically wrangle everyone's opinions and throw that at Dorit to make it valid instead of just standing on her own opinion. And that's what I don't understand. Like, you are Kyle Richards. You are the star of this show. Have a backbone and tell your friend to her face that these are your opinions. It's how you feel. Stop trying to like bring the other ladies into it because it's awkward and it's making you look bad. I loved that Rachel Zoe was like, hold up. Sorry, you're not going to characterize me and why I said the things I said to fill
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
purpose right now. And she
Yeah.
called her on it twice. So
Yeah.
this is another reason why I'm loving Rachel Zoe because she's
Yes.
just like,
Uh,
let's be clear. I loved when she was like, I have friends that just run on their own timelines like this. Like, and I know that about them, right? Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just
I mm,
it's all very like
okay.
breaking the fourth wall. And it's too weird. It's too weird.
Yes. And this goes back to what you were saying about it goes back to the summer house conversation about the being in a relationship with, people outside of your race thing, right? It's like
What would be so much more interesting is raw honesty. I'm going to go to the PK part of it,
Yeah.
right? Wouldn't it be so much more interesting for Kyle to have a sit down with Dorit that's like, listen, when the four of us hung out, that was real for me. I
Yeah.
fell in love with both of you. I really loved your husband. And because you guys are dissolving this relationship, it does put me in a really awkward position. I enjoy PK's humor. I found comfort in the text conversation that we had had. It makes me sad to think like if there just would have been a really honest conversation about that experience, right? Or even when you're just thinking about like making other like waiting, like the timing of it. Waiting, Dorit's always late. Take
Yeah.
something small like that. Wouldn't it be so much interesting to just hear Kyle say, I love you and I really respect your time. And like, I do feel like I put an effort in. And like, every time you do that, it cuts me because I do have an ego and it makes me feel like you just don't respect me.
Yeah.
And like that would be a so much more. I do feel like maybe that is to just maybe that is what we miss about Vanderpump Rules is that because they were all really friends, we did get those conversations of
Yeah.
Stassi being like, Kristen, you're being an idiot. Like, not only are you hurting me, but like you're being dumb. Okay.
Well,
And
I
like,
do think that Kyle and Erica probably thought that that's what they were trying to do in that conversation because you heard the setup, you heard like them kind of like gaming it out. Okay. Like they took her there to get to the quick of it, right? And kind of like have that straightforward. But I think the problem, to your point, it's like it's less about what Kyle has been saying and it's more about the way that she's going about it.
right,
And that
right.
direct conversation came too late. I think
Yes.
that's the problem, right? Like the
Yes.
whole ice cream walk should have happened at the beginning of the season or like 4 or 5
Yes.
episodes ago.
Clearing the
Kyle's
air.
trying to do it now because I think she's realizing that she's losing a grip on the situation. And so she's like, oh shit, like this whole plan of back channeling is blowing up in my face because Dorit is seeing it for what it is. She's seeing that it's actually me going around and like I'm the one that's actually driving this. So I better have a conversation soon now where I say it to her directly so that I can still seem like I'm being honest. It's too late. There's already
Too
too
late.
many examples of it. And that
Yeah.
to me, like that was one of the moments when I say I'm like yelling at the screen where I said what Dorit said before she said it. When they were going back and forth at one point and they were talking about the Hamptons conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and Dorit said, well, I don't understand. Like, why didn't we have that conversation like when we were together in the Hamptons?
Right.
And Kyle's like, well, we were having such a good time. And I just felt like I didn't want to bring that to you then. And Dorit, I said it before she did. I go, so you brought it to Bose?
Yeah. Like, what?
The thing, that's where I just don't understand Kyle's mindset here. Like, it would have almost been more acceptable if that conversation with Bose happened after they got back.
Yep. Yep.
Right? Like,
Yep.
okay, now we're back from the trip. I
I'm gonna
didn't use the
debrief.
trip to talk to Dorit, and I also didn't use the trip
Yep.
to talk to anyone else about it. Okay.
Yep.
But you're having that conversation with Bose on the phone, and Dorit is just like in the background up in Rachel's house. So it's just very transparent what she's doing. I'm very sick of it. I am going to be so bummed if Kyle is not raked across the coals during the reunion because she deserves it. This has been a
And
terrible season for her.
And there is definitely, much like I just said about Vanita, there's something that happened before this season between Kyle and Amanda. I'm not saying a blood oath, but in that buying of her house, there was some sort of conversation of like, I'm going to make it good for you. I'm going to give you, kid gloves. I'm going to make these women appreciate and love you. And that is why to me, and maybe it is written in an email somewhere, and Amanda's like, you better keep doing what you said you were going to do, Kyle, or I'm going to release that email. I don't know. There must be something that Amanda does
Well, I
have
have
over
a theory
her.
on what it is. You want to
What is
know?
it? What do you think?
It has nothing to do with Amanda. Kyle is still not over the fact that Bose joined the show and chose to be best friends with Dorit. She can't handle it.
And now
And
we
not
said
only
it.
that, on top of that, then Bose judged Kyle for how she was interacting with her and the race stuff and all of that was like the undercurrent of that conversation. It kills Kyle that Dorit has befriended Bose and all of the optics that benefit Dorit in that situation, that she's become best friends with a new housewife. And I think where Kyle probably even further committed to her relationship with Amanda was when she saw that Rachel and Dorit were going to become good friends too. I really think that's all it comes down
And
to.
you
I
know
don't think
what?
Kyle actually likes Amanda. I think she needed an ally. She can't stand the fact that Dorit keeps collecting people, okay, with her authenticity and just general
That's
amazingness.
what
Can't
authenticity.
handle it.
To go back to what I was just saying about wouldn't it be better if Kyle was just more honest? The reason why was because Dorit walked into that party last year with that crazy fucking hat on, rode up to Bose and said, "I'm getting a divorce. My husband is an alcoholic, abusive." I don't know.
Instant friendship.
Bose said, "That's
Besties.
my girl. That's a truth sayer. I love that energy." And it's no mystery to me, too, why Rachel is also picking up on that. Now, yes, did Dorit potentially maybe, forge a insurance heist? I don't know. Okay. There might be, or are there parts of Dorit that are fake? Yes. She's a much more reliable narrator, in my opinion, of her own life, though.
Yeah.
To what and you could the last thing I'll say about that is that you can really tell when it comes to Bose, that's where she draws her line, and that is why she is not able to get with Amanda. If Amanda said, "I'm doing this cult thing," I think Bose honestly would be fine with Amanda if Amanda wrote in and said, "So I do a cult." I
Yeah.
think Bose would be like, "She's honest."
I monetize it. It's all good. I think the other thing is, and this is where I can be a little bit sympathetic. I get it. I think Kyle is operating from a place of feeling very lonely. Like another thing that was like a small moment on this episode that makes me think like it must suck to be Kyle right now is like even your own sister is doubting your stories. And what's crazy is Kyle
And
was
now we
actually
said it.
right in that story that, they keep accusing, I can't remember her name. She's not memorable enough to remember her name, but this new
The
friend of that
Melanie,
we
the
know is lying now
Melissa. Yeah.
about what she said, right?
Yes. Yes.
Kyle is not crazy. This woman is lying. Okay.
This
But to
woman is
have
lying.
Kathy Hilton sit across from you and be like, are you sure? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're actually telling the truth. Like here's a
Mm-hmm.
rare time where like
Mm-hmm.
Kathy should fully be supporting her sister. And
Mm-hmm.
she's like,
Mm-hmm.
no. So
See, but this
I'm
is
sure that Kyle senses that, it's like I have a fractured relationship with my sister. It's not even a guarantee that she's going to be on my side. My husband of however many decades has left me and honestly could care less about what I'm doing. My daughters are growing up and they don't need me as much as they do. Sure, she has Erica, but like outside of that, I think she just feels like she's losing control of the show to Dorit, and rightfully so. Like Dorit is the show.
yeah, and the more that you have to understand too, like what you just said about Kyle, like you're asking these people to film with you. Like you are at this point going hat in hand to Mauricio and saying, "Hey, I need a couple of scenes. Are you available to film?" And he's saying to her, "Sure, you can come over to my condo."
Yeah.
Like that was your husband. So yeah, I do think that Kyle's in a very lonely place. That's a good way to just kind of put a bow on
The
that.
other thing, though, that I did want to just touch on, because you know, again, what's interesting about the show is the comments that sometimes reveal things that you're not necessarily thinking, or that maybe it's not how it's appearing. I did find Kyle's commentary about the true nature of all of their friendships very interesting.
Okay.
Because Kyle's
Yeah.
characterization was that Erica and Kyle are much, much closer with Dorit than Dorit is to Bose or Rachel. And I just was like, is that true though?
Is
Like,
that
because
true?
on the one hand, that would sort of explain a lot, actually. If Bose and Dorit were more of like filming allies, then I would actually understand why Kyle's kind of losing it a
Mm-hmm.
little bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's just like, okay, you guys just have this friendship for the cameras that works in Dorit's favor, and it's not a real friendship. I would just love to know the truth of that because I just
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. And I think if you're watching this season, that's definitely not what you're thinking. You're not
No.
thinking that Dorit's strongest friendships are still with Kyle and Erica. It's not coming
No.
across like that at all. Like Erica
No.
didn't tell Dorit that she has a boyfriend. It's
No.
coming across very much the opposite.
Yes.
So I really hope that they touch on that moment on the reunion. Like I just would love for Andy to ask Dorit's reaction to that
Yeah.
comment. Like,
I agree.
is that true? Like, are you
Yeah.
closer with those or like tell us the truth,
What is that too? Authenticity. What does a month look like? Are you guys seeing each other twice,
Once? Are you seeing each other every 3 months? That, even just that question, I don't even need to get into the
Yeah,
nitty-gritty of the relationship. Just knowing how often they see each other would go a long way to understand what type of relationship they have.
totally. I also feel like the whole Amanda thing continues to be really weird. And again, I think there's still more that's like not being brought to camera. Like, I feel like the whole exchange between her and Bose, I don't know. I'm not 100% on Bose's side, I guess, is what I would say.
No,
Like,
same. No, me
that whole
too.
exchange in the car, like when they were, looking
Yeah.
her up on ChatGPT, it
Yeah.
was mean-spirited. I
It
don't know why
was.
we're not like representing it like it's not.
Yeah.
I think that Amanda's probably right that they were like using certain queries to pull up those specific things.
Yep.
Like ChatGPT is going to respond to the way you're asking the question, right? So I do believe that they probably were steering it, because I think if you just like normally if you just like ask the internet, hey, tell me about this person, whatever, it is going to pull up more of like the positive things. So I think the
Hmm.
fact that they got so quickly to like negative stuff means that they were looking for it. And I just didn't really agree with the exchange that they had at the winery, and that they all just keep accusing Amanda of like not opening up or not being authentic or not explaining like what she does. And I feel like I've had enough explanation of it.
I know what she
And I think
does.
that's kind of where I'm like, can't believe that I'm sort of on Sutton's side when Sutton was like, she doesn't turn off. She's like, when we close the door at night, she's still talking about her business, right?
Mhm.
Like, as a viewer, it's very confusing that they keep saying that, like, we don't know, we don't know. I know way more about Amanda than I ever did want to know.
I I'm
It
with you,
doesn't make any sense. Like,
and
I know how she got with her husband. I know that she was in a cult. I know what her upbringing was. I know what her business is. I know how she's making money in her business. It's a subscription business. I know that she lost a child. Like, what? I don't understand when they keep saying, like, you're not opening up to us. You're not, and then that's where you come back to, like, okay, so it's jealousy. That's where I think Amanda is right. Like, Bose's course is not selling as well as Amanda's course is selling. And it's jealousy. And I just, it's like,
there are
he's not
I just
doing
want to
anything
say
illegal. This is not a Mary Cosby situation. We're not
no.
going to see Amanda on an HBO special. This is a
No.
legit
This
business.
is real.
You might have your feelings about it because, yes, you are sort of convincing people to give you money in the hopes of a better life, a better future, a better financial situation. Hello, that is what life coaching is. That
That's
is
what the
what
Bible
therapists
is.
are. That is what, like, what are we talking
I don't
about?
know. I
Like,
don't know. There are so many people. You could go on TikTok right now who are living in a home that they paid for outright with money
making
they
money
made
for
on
strangers off the internet.
that literally, and I'm sorry, okay? At least it seems like Amanda's is original IP. There are so many people on TikTok that are just like fitness people who are selling like nutritional plans that they just bought from some other person, put their label on it, and people are buying those $5, $10 a pop. That is that more legitimate? If that was if Amanda could say, oh, well, I'm Teddy Mellencamp. I sell fitness plans for people. It's all garbage anyway. All Teddy was selling was her name attached to her calling you and telling you were fat. Like Teddy, sorry, but Teddy Mellencamp's hang in or hang 10 with Teddy, whatever, was no more legitimate. It's just built off the back of her name and being someone that people felt like I see results in her body. I believe if she tells me how to eat, that I'm going to look like her. Much
Yeah.
in the same way, people are looking at Amanda. They're seeing prosperity. They're seeing a woman in charge of her own finances. And they're saying to themselves, maybe if I spend $30 to learn what she did. And this is another thing, too, that I will say. I have gone on with Bose as well. These are not 1,500. Like, you're not bankrupting people. Amanda
No.
is not asking people to spend 10 grand on this thing,
I mean, they probably
promising
are once
them.
they're done with her, but it's a
Yes.
repeatable,
You
yeah.
you
It's
don't
a
have to
small amount that you're taking again and again and again. It's this is
and
why people have Substacks now.
and maybe some person read that and they thought, wow, I had never considered that I'm worthy of having money. And maybe that one change in their thought process helped them get off their ass and go get a job. Like, I don't know. Is it really that bad what she's doing? I
I just feel
don't know.
like the other thing too is I think it would be a lot different if there was like other context clues that were helping with this whole like she's a fraud story. Like, this is a more minor thing, but I don't know if you saw that a a lot of people were basically coming for her saying that the outfit that she wore in the first like Italy outing was not actually Dolce and Gabbana. And so this is why I love Amanda. She like did a reel where she went into her closet, took it out of her closet, showed the tags, you know, showed that it was Dolce and Gabbana.
As she should.
But I think the fact that people are even thinking that is because they are trying to like further build out this narrative that she's a fraud. But like, again, and it's not to say that you can always tell. Obviously, Wendy and Eddie have done a great job of seeming like they're above board and they're not. But I do think with other housewives, there's clues like Jen Shaw renting that big house, right? Like there's other things about the way
Absolutely.
they're living where you're like, yeah, maybe
Absolutely.
something's up here. But with Amanda, I'm like, you guys, she's bought and renovated the star of your show's former house.
If the
I
money
think
wasn't
she's
real,
a legitimate
yeah,
person.
yeah,
Like, what are we talking? I don't think she
yeah,
would be owning this house, renovating
yeah.
it, bringing Maurizio there to see it. Like,
Mauricio has seen her
I'm
finances.
gonna need more to believe that this is all a farce because
Yes.
it's feeling very real.
If they facilitated that sale to Amanda and her husband, that
Then
means
she was legitimately cleared. She is financially sound. This is like, you know, so I don't know. It's just getting really like the Bose thing disappointed me because I do agree with Bose a lot, but I think this was an instance where I just was like, you are coming across as jealous and you kind of keep saying and demanding things of Amanda that at this point feel a little unfair considering I think she's tried and is now burnt, as she said, from the experience, and a little bit like,
Are we
why
getting
am
a
I
season 2?
putting myself through this?
Are we going to get a season 2, Amanda?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think they've announced it yet. I think
Because
they're
one
gonna
thing
have
I will
to.
say, let me just tell you this. Amanda's gonna have a season 2 glow up to the fucking gods because that woman does have money.
Oh
She's
yeah.
gonna come back 24-inch bust down weave. She's gonna come back, blow, you know, she's gonna be taking her
Be like
GLP
Erica.
shot.
Like, oh, we do mood boards for all the looks now, and
Yes. Yes.
so I don't know. We'll see. I obviously I think we left off on a to be continued. Kyle's about to really lose her crap because we know she hates when she's actually being nailed for something. So I am
love
excited for next week's episode just because
Me
I'm kind of
too.
curious to see how the other ladies are gonna react when this whole thing bubbles
Blows
up.
up.
We will see.
Sissy,
Well,
that was a
Rhinestoners,
good one.
another episode. We're getting close. Episode 20. So exciting.
And then we are, you know, we gotta make this real because I want to do something around Real Housewives of Rhode Island. We gotta do
Oh,
something.
yes.
I don't know.
I
Maybe
think
a
it comes out
special recap.
in April. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ladies of London. We need to do Ladies of
Yeah,
London.
I need to plug in. I will.
You
I
need to plug
promise.
in for sure. All right, Sissy.
I love you.
Love you too.
Bye,
See you next week.
Rhinestoners. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.